something like a plain power game, which we're addressing here. But indeed, encryption might be an answer, hiding traffic might be an answer. Well, if you ask me, then I would say forbid this type of technology, create a situation where they don't find a market anymore. But that will be not an easy task. So I guess with this type of thing, we will have to think about what to do for the next years, and it's worth thinking about it. Otherwise, they will find a solution the other way.
I have a small addition about the politician's question. These tools that record calls and that are used by the government in some way are all. I come from a country where they used regularly from the government, and when they go in opposition, because they always change every few years, when they go into opposition, they pull out some old records and start blackmailing and publishing bad stuff about the new guys. And that happens every 4 years, almost regularly. And this is actually a tool that's been used and used and used and used mostly for this. I mean, they had about, so they had a 25 million euro budget for this for 1 year. And they had about 3 or 4 intercepts they used in court cases. And about a few thousands more that then used for something else. And this is a fact of life. It happens. It's used mostly by this. It's probably not exactly like this here in Germany, but let's say I'm not exactly optimistic.
Well, yeah, there's of course countries where the politicians are being exchanged, which doesn't mean that the guys keeping these records are being exchanged. It's all a matter of who handles whom. Okay, this one more.
I got here late, so I'm sorry if this has already been asked, but do you know if anybody has tried to use the Freedom of Information Acts to try and get their own records that have been collected on them?
In Germany, it was indeed tried by a politician to get the data retention records of him. It was denied. Feel free to go that way. You'll find, at least, I know that through Freedom of Information, lots of part of this technology and paper has been freed, but I'm not aware of, indeed, personal records that have become available through this method. Okay.
How difficult would it be to introduce false positives into these systems?
How difficult will it be to identify that they are false positives? Is the other question. I mean, there was the idea of, creating, let's say, a protest movement against Echelon by including specific keywords in our signatures when using the Usenet or internet email stuff. So, bomb, Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, blah, blah, blah. I guess that is just a tool to collect the data of those guys who do this. I mean, you can filter it so easily. I'm not sure that this approach would really work. So, of course, if people are trying to go around these systems, they train using these systems. So that is what intelligence services are doing. I mean, now we have this discussion about the airline security again, if we should install these body scanners or not. There just came the report, yeah, but Al-Qaeda has already bought these body scanners and they train their personnel to use this. So, of course, that's obviously because it's a CIA operation. These guys train with this technology to keep low profile. It's very simple. I don't know, maybe we have to buy this shit and see how it works to behave in a way flying under the radar screen. Might be an approach.
Is there any public knowledge how well this pattern matching works and how much different databases are connected for pattern matching?
Yeah, that's of course an interesting thing because this is marketing material and they of course claim it's working so great and so on. But on the other hand side, the trustworthiness of people in the intelligence community, you might be able to ask that question, ask them, does it really work? They will tell you, oh, no, it's all bullshit. Will be of course misleading, so it's a little difficult. I guess for our look at the internet and at the public telecommunication networks, if we're talking about enforcing cryptography and enforcing methods of hiding traffic data and using anonymizers and so on, we'd better think that, okay, this stuff might be there and it might be used. And of course, they will collect a lot of this stuff in the long-term storage to play around with it. So they do have the material now through data retention to even legally play around with it and use this data to improve their technology.
I've often heard that when the FBI can't do monitoring on US citizens for legal reasons, they don't even worry because they've got a reciprocal agreement with the British, and they'll do that listening for us, and then we swap the data. Mm-hmm. Apparently you're nodding, so there's a basis for that. Is that typically how it's done, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this type of agreements where countries are not allowed to spy in their own countries, like in Foreign Intelligence Service has often not the license to intercept stuff in their own country, so they do cooperate with an ally who's doing exactly that in their country legally, and then they have an exchange agreement to grab the stuff anyhow. So that is a typical hack around or work around in this type of community.
How would you kind of explain that to the John Doe, that this is bad because people are selling their buying habits to the marketing firms of big companies with their club cards, etc.?
Yeah, well, the key point is this, that in a democracy, we have civil rights and we have the right to interact also with a political setup. This type of technology, declaring us all a suspect, is undemocratic from its beginning. And it starts to treat us as suspects, so people who are treated as suspect will, with some time, behave like a suspect. So they will no more use their rights to interact in specific ways because they're afraid this might be used against it. By the way, this was the argumentation of the German highest court in 1984 for informational self-determination, so Datenschutz as we call it now, data protection. And it's obvious this is happening. The point is that this technology is, of course, first of all, marketed to those countries who are easy buyers. That's all the Middle East, Arabian world situations. But it's getting into our so-called democratic states just through that, just through competition between countries, more or less.
Yes, but I've made up my mind about this stuff various times, and people are just kind of saying to me, well, I have nothing to hide. That's the main argument of the people.
Yeah, but you have something to protect. I mean, this is about economic warfare. This is about stealing. This is about knowing who's doing what. This is about economic espionage. This is about transporting stuff from A to B without knowledge of C. This is about control of everything, and it includes the economic sphere, absolutely. So the intelligence being used here for all kinds of games. And yeah, so my clear answer would be, well, you might have nothing to hide, but you have something to protect. If it's just your life, your private situation, your business, your way of making money, your way of keeping your money. So this is everything. When they know everything about you, it can be abused. It will be abused, obviously.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I don't know if there's any more, otherwise we could, yeah.
One idea perhaps, it's possible to show to the politicians, if one of these records, a voice record of a high-ranked politician is leaked to WikiLeaks or something like this, that you can listen to